Welcome to Quickshots.
Oh, hey, welcome to Quickshots. I've just come from the osteo, so it was a crackathon because I'm limber. I'm actually probably going to be the most physically charismatic that you've ever seen on a podcast.
I heard the cracks all the way from Queensland here. You're down in Melbourne.
You heard my life changing within minutes, if not
Which
seconds.
one is it? The neck one's always the best one, isn't it?
Huge, the neck one. It was a big neck one.
Can get rid of sinus, A crack of the neck can get rid of sinus. Has happened to me before.
Sinus-like issues?
Yeah. Had a sinus issue once and
really?
Crack of the neck sorted out. Anyway, what do you got for me? Quickshots, arguably more popular than our main pods some weeks, aren't they? We get quite a lot of engagement from the crew. It is always great to hear from you guys. So if you've got any questions, send them through. Our emails are always in the show notes. We love to hear from you. And kicking us off for the 2023 year, who we got?
Ornella. Straight into it. Is it bad to have negative gearing? It's a simple one, isn't it?
Ooh, yeah, simple one. Not easy to answer though, mind you, Ornella. Thank you. Nice way to start the year for me. We might do our own podcast segment on this one because it is one that is worth unpacking. It's not bad to have negative gearing. It really comes down to your personal preferences. What I think is more important is to have positive cash flow. Negative gearing doesn't mean negative cash flow necessarily. So what it just means is that you have, in addition to some cash costs, you're able to use some paper costs that don't actually cost you money, but are rather just a cost on paper. So we'll explain that in a bit more detail. Is it bad? Short answer is no. And in fact, most property investors prefer it because it's a good way to use your tax to fund the cost of owning an investment property. Having said that though, it's not for everyone. So we'll do our own ep on that one. Got the leap here and this is very common. I reckon we've definitely had this maybe once previously over the past few years. Delete wants to know, is it good to sell good idea, I should say, to sell your owner occupied property if you are moving out for good to another suburb, or should you convert it to an investment property and rent it out?
Delete. It's a great question because it depends on so many different things. I wouldn't actually say this is a one size fits all. But I always say to people when they're asking this question, are you considering not selling because you're emotionally attached to the home? Are you sure that having that become an investment property is a good idea if you are emotionally attached? So sort of start there. But we have to remember your owner-occupier is tax-free. So, Dilip, if you've bought another property, which will become your owner-occupier property, presumably it's a bit more expensive or whatever, but is there a scenario you can sell your current owner-occupier and put all of the money that you've made on that tax-free money into your next property so that, you can avoid lender's mortgage insurance or just have less debt or more comfort or whatever it is. But you have to consider that if you make your old owner-occupier property an investment, at some point you are going to pay capital gains tax on it. I think it might actually, you can't have two owner-occupiers in Australia. So if you do transfer your owner-occupier, that will become an investment. So I don't know what the cutoff is, and this is totally an accounting question because if you've got the answer, please let me know. But I believe at some point, say after 12 months or even 24 months of that property becoming an investment, it will be considered investment. You'll have to pay capital gains on the resale.
Yeah. I'd be surprised if the numbers work out that it is a good idea to rent it out.
Keep it, yeah.
For most people it isn't. And main reason is that how do you get the money for the new house? You'd normally probably have to borrow it against all of the equity that you've built up in your current owner-occupier. And unfortunately, even though you've borrowed it against the old owner-occupier that's now an investment, the interest and the payments on that aren't tax deductible because you've used it to buy a house that you're going to live in. So
that's right.
It doesn't normally make sense, but you're right, Dilip. It is one that probably needs a bit more context. I agree with you on that, Alex.
And I think too, like to sort of put a bit of a caveat over that, I know a lot of first home buyers that buy well and truly what they can afford, something very simple with the intention of it becoming an investment property. And that's sort of why I sort of wind it back and say, well, it's not a one size fits all. You know, did you buy the expensive property in the sexy area that you've lived in for a while that's got a lot of equity, you know, and or was it always meant to be an investment property? That's kind of why I don't have a definitive answer on that one. But just remember, owner-occupier, tax-free money. Okay? This one's from Tim, and I like this question. He said, I'm 24, earning 80K as a carpenter, and I want to buy...
80,000 for those not sure what the K means.
Sorry. Okay. Okay. No, not K. I want to buy a ute for work, which I'm looking at about $60,000 ute for work. On loan with finance. Is 60K too much for my income? How will it affect my future? And I'm guessing Tim is, you know, given these questions come through us as real estate people, it's probably talking about how it will affect him borrowing to buy a house in some capacity.
Well, first of all, Tim, I reckon good job to be earning $80,000 at 24 years old. I reckon you're going very well, obviously working very hard.
Can't relate at 24, I'll tell you that much.
Go Tim. Look, it's probably a bit expensive, I will say. I think it comes down to, you know, what are your priorities? Because it's going to have a big impact on your ability to borrow money. The banks aren't going to like it. Banks are not going to like a $60,000 loan for a car. Producer Nick's just done some awesome research without any notice at all. Thank you, Producer Nico. It will probably knock off about $150,000 off what you can borrow, which, I don't know if I could justify that for a new ute. You know, particularly if I'm sure you might be able to get a slightly cheaper ute that could do the same job, if not identical job. So, look, I think 60K is probably a bit too much. $60,000 when you're earning 80,000. I think it'd be a better idea if you could maybe make it work on slightly less. I'm not going to tell you how to run your life though, but the reality is, personal opinion, it is a bit high and it will have a big impact on your ability to borrow money and do things down the track, so long as you know that going in.
And I think Tim has a bit of an idea because he is asking the question and it is a smart question. So, Tim, I think you know it might be a little too much, my friend. Guys, that wraps it up for this week. As you said at the start, please send through your questions. We bang through all of them in Quickshots. Well, correction, not all of them, but we really try hard to. And there's a lot of repeats. So if your name's not dropped in there, but it is the same question, we're not changing it up. It's just that we're getting the same over a few different people. Thanks for listening to another episode of The Double Shot with your favourite cousins, Alex and James Fitzgerald. If you've got a burning question or something we absolutely need to talk about on the pod, please write to us. Both of our emails are in the show notes. For little real estate tidbits and a little bit of banter, a lot of banter, you can follow us on the gram. Our handle is thedoubleshot.podcast. That, my friends, is thedoubleshot.podcast. Until next time, think of us when you sit back and sip your next double shot.